Okay, thank you, Jess. Thanks for that amazing introduction. Delighted to be here again, with my partner, Zia Word from Matterblock, our Web3 fund and advisory. So look, I know everyone is really looking forward to the Ed Snowden session in 20 minutes now. So you've got 15 minutes of us, and we're going to be talking about the investment space, within Web3, what we see is changing, what we see are the leading trends right now. So yes, we have 15 minutes to kind of rattle through that. So Zia, welcome. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I'm excited to see Ed and Gavin later, but I'm also, really excited to be here and chat about the space. I think we're at a unique point in time, so yeah, pumped.
Definitely. So Zia, I know you've been working on a lot of deals at the moment, and there's a lot of funding going on in the space in Web3 specifically. So yeah, I kind of wanted to kind of ask you really kind of like what are the lay of the land at the moment in terms of the current trends that we're seeing in the investment space in this specific niche part of the industry.
Yeah, so I think there's probably 3 or 4 different things happening at the moment. Well, I guess one would be at the fund level. So we're seeing a lot of fresh funds coming into funds. So you see like Paradigm raised 2.5 billion, A16Z raised a fresh fund earlier, a couple of months ago, some new funds popping up from, kind of ex Coinbase people, ex Consensus people, and kind of people who have been in the space for a while now coming up with their own funds. So there's a lot of fresh powder in the space, which is interesting. And then I think on a of course GameFi is big. It's becoming somewhat frothy, as it were, but I think there's still a lot of room to grow. I think we'll probably see, a lot of traditional gaming companies get a lot more involved over the next 12 months, and that should be interesting for the space. So there's still, quite a lot of funding going in that direction. And then we're also seeing a lot of funding around DAOs and things like that. So, and I think the structure of DAOs and the infrastructure of DAOs is an interesting one, and how we support those. There's a bit of funding going into those as well. And then the kind of next wave of DeFi, we're a little bit early on it, but I think, DeFi's still got some way to go in terms of kind of the best types of governance, in terms of, safety, in terms of a few kind of structural things that need to be ironed out, because obviously it's still kind of maturing in the way it's developing. So I think the next wave of DeFi is kind of coming, and then of course the NFT space and things outside of I guess marketplaces. So there's plenty of those. There are now, we're looking at different ways that NFTs might be used. So outside of art, I think there's some interesting stuff potentially happening in the music space. That's growing, other types of media, but also even outside of that, I think the first wave of like, I guess, blockchain hype, or the second wave of blockchain hype, the ICO craze. We had lots of things with like prop tech and linking that to NFTs and things like that, and the maturity of the technology and the market wasn't quite there. So we are seeing some interesting stuff there as well. There are a few things off the top of my head.
Yeah. So what do you think is causing all this, money entering the space? What do you think the catalyst was? Because obviously, a year or two ago, there were certain types of funds that were still too cautious to get their feet wet. But now it looks like, more, even, family offices and potentially pension, funds are coming in. So like, what do you think has given them that confidence now to kind of dive in with that?
Yeah, so obviously the pure growth of the market, it's hard to ignore. Even if you're outside of the market as a traditional investor, it's really difficult to ignore. But also, we're at we're getting past those kind of stereotypes where, oh, it's all just a scam, oh, it's a big bubble, oh, we're kind of getting past a few of those. There are certainly potential bubbles within the space, but it's really about understanding that's kind of leaked out into, I guess, the mainstream. And then I think the other major shift, kind of unfortunately, that has been fortunate for Web3 is the pandemic, really, because the way in which people think about their time, think about their identities, think about their ownership of things, it's really kind of shifted over the pandemic. I think it was shifting anyway, but it's kind of accelerated that. So, I guess ownership and identity kind of now become part of, your world online just as much as they are offline. And so I think that's really accelerated some of the key technologies that we see in Web3.
Yeah, because I think it's really interesting, right? Because, with Web3 and especially with the rise of DAOs, it's a kind of balancing act between, funds coming into the space and everyone also, obviously, like Web3 is all about community, it's all about sharing of value. Like, how do you think you strike the right balance of like having funds in DAOs, but also, being able to share that value with everyone that's creating value within it? Because I think that's a really interesting topic.
Yeah, I've thought a lot about that, because obviously this is a space we're really into. We're really looking into DAOs and guilds and all sorts of things like that we're, keen to kind of get involved in. For me, for us, we've spoken a lot about value. Capital is kind of almost bottom of the totem pole at this point. Obviously, in bear markets, that probably changes a little bit. But, at this point, it's kind of bottom. And adding value through collaboration, connections, everything that you can add is really key. And I think also contributing to the build out of that ecosystem. So being an active contributor, once the kind of DAO becomes fully active and onboarding new members, and really as investors, you can be a part of that to kind of help the growth of the DAO. I think it's very important to be fully switched on in terms of, and for instance, I've seen, A16Z is a perfect example. They've invested a few DAOs now, and a few other funds that I know of are very actively investing in DAOs. So I think it's very important if you're a DAO or a project, when you're looking at investors, if you're thinking about investors, to have somebody that is going to actively contribute to the actual process that you're going to need to go through. Because the thing about DAOs is, it's not all going to be smooth sailing. Think of it like, there's a lot of moving parts. So, governance and things like that is still it's still getting ironed out, although it's working quite well for a lot of people. I think ENS name services is a really good example of that. They've done, I think, a great job. So, there's a lot of things to think about with DAOs, and as investors, I think some may not even participate in DAOs, but if they are, they should really think about their contribution kind of long term, and who, if you have a small fund or a big fund, it's got to be managed. That kind of portfolio management is really key in Web3, because you have to have contribution to everything you invest in.
Yeah, I've been quite fascinated to see that those very large funds, like, you mentioned A16Z, that are investing in DAOs, it looks like as a priority, at least from what I can see. Why do you think that those headline funds are focused on DAOs, which are obviously still, niche? Obviously, they're getting more popular now, but what is it about DAOs you think that they're so interested in?
Well, I think that they're potentially it's probably a big statement to make, but they're potentially, I guess, the future of how our economies run. So, I mean, that's a fairly big statement, but think about it like in the same way that we talked about kind of ownership and value. People are more sophisticated in the way that they interact with companies. They're more sophisticated in the way that they interact with governments, I think. Obviously, the optics might be a bit narrow on that, but I think we are starting to see that spread. And so I think potentially, DAOs could be the next evolution of economies, really. And so it makes sense as a big fund to be early in those, and a lot of those big funds have great networks, obviously, but they also have great infrastructure to support them. So they've got kind of everybody from events people to kind of community builders to creator outreach to all of that sort of stuff to kind of support those DAOs. So I think it makes sense for them, and they certainly can contribute. I think at our level, like, we're also very hands-on. I think we've spoken about. So for us, it's really about kind of long-term partnerships and things like that, and really helping them with the growth. And we like to be early in them, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'd like to add to that anyone who is extremely passionate about Web3, about DAOs, about this whole new future of how communities come together to provide value. Anyone who spends their nights and days researching this or writing Medium articles, or has found themselves a passion in this space, we at Matterblock would absolutely love to hear from you. We're super passionate about this space as well, this specific niche of the industry, and we've been hiring quite intensively, and looking for the best people to join us. So please do reach out to us. You can find us on our website, www.matterblock.com. We're also, of course, the organizers of this amazing event, BlockDown DeData. So please do reach out to us. We'd love to collaborate and see where our skills could take us, and see how we can add value to those projects that are just coming up now.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, we're working with some great kind of partner funds as well. So we're always open to collaboration on that end as well. So yeah, love to hear from people. I think we're pretty findable. So check out the website and drop us an email.
Yeah. So we're gonna keep running events like this. We have a festival plan that we're going to speak about a little bit later in Croatia, which will be the first ever NFT enabled Web3 festival, which is going to be absolutely insane. You've probably seen the video in the chat, in between the talks. So we're really, really excited about that. And again, a call for collaboration. People that think that they can, would like to add value to that event in any way, whether that's creative, whether that's from the business side, whether that's in networking side, whatever it might be. Would love to hear from you. We're very open here at Matterblock. And let's go ahead and build the future together.
Awesome.
Any last words here before this amazing?
I can't wait for Croatia. That's what I can't wait for BlockDown Festival. It'll be awesome. But in the meantime, really looking forward to the rest of the talks today.
Awesome. Okay. Well, look, thanks for your time, Zia. And
Thanks.
see you guys later. Thanks, Jess.
Speak to you. Bye.